Not all pandemics have silver linings. In fact, saying silver linings and pandemic in the same sentence just seems wrong, disrespectful almost, given the tremendous losses that we faced. All of us have, actually, in terms of friends, family members, colleagues. Too many people have been lost to us too quickly. And it's not over. As we know, even a rich country like the US is still, because of the pandemic, suffering the equivalent of one 9/11 disaster every 3 days. Yet, there's something to be said for teasing out the positives that have come out of this period, without doing any injustice to the terrible things that have happened. So one of those is that we have witnessed probably one of the greatest scientific and humanitarian feats in the history of humanity. We have, in less than a year, developed a number of vaccines using revolutionary technologies, developments that usually would have taken anywhere between a decade and 2 decades. Within less than a year following that, more than 5 billion doses were manufactured, probably one of the greatest manufacturing efforts in history too. And in that same period, more than 4 billion people were vaccinated. More than half of the global population is now vaccinated. And perhaps it says something about the ambition and optimism of our time that we feel that those numbers are too low. But yet, extraordinary capability that was coupled with extraordinary intentionality. And that gives one a sense of what we are capable of. How did all of this come about? It came about because of a remarkable symbiosis between national governments on the one hand and for-profit entities, companies on the other. National governments were the great underwriters of this financially, this incredible effort. But businesses also contributed. They contributed the research. They contributed the incredible manufacturing prowess and scale. And governments and businesses together contributed the logistics that allowed those 4 billion people to get shots in their arms within such a short period of time. What this does is it puts to bed the exhausted ideological debates of the 20th century between a free market view of the world and a statist view of the world. Clearly, we need both. Clearly, the sweet spot for organizing societies is to have strong, open governments and flexible, responsible companies. The third silver lining is perhaps the one that will have the biggest effect over the longest period of time, and that's the revolution in how we live and work. This is not true of everybody in the world by any means, but many, many people suddenly now have ways of living their lives and of fitting work into their lives other than the other way around. That was inconceivable before. We are working across borders, across time zones, with people everywhere. This is true of Genesis, but it's true probably of your company as well. What this does is it really redraws the lines of what's possible in a life. But it also redraws, very importantly, the bargaining power. The bargaining power between employers and employees, those who need talent and those who have talent. And it gives us a whole new set of options to work on that are, using that old phrase, win-win options. But it also helps those who may not be so lucky to be able to do remote work. We have seen across the world many, many people in frontline service jobs, critical to how the world works, now increasing their bargaining power, having increases in what they can earn, having increases and improvements in their terms of employment. So those are the 3 silver linings for me. This tremendous incidence of human ingenuity, this powerful symbiosis between governments and businesses, and the ability of all of us to restructure our lives in a way that will create more stability, more happiness, more flexibility. All that remains for me is to wish you a good break, if you can have one, and most of all, a strong and optimistic 2022.